Greetings. We now have the candidates in the South Anchorage race. Let's start with Bruce Doherty. Mr. Doherty, your opening statement of 1 minute, please.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Bruce Doherty, and I'm running to represent the people of South Anchorage. What I bring to the table, first and foremost, is 28 years of military experience. I recently retired from the military with the rank of Lieutenant Colonel, and I want to take that military and leadership experience and put it to work for you on the Anchorage Assembly. I ask for your support, and I ask for your vote on April 1st. Thank you.
Mr. Doherty, you're a newcomer to elective politics. What do you think your strengths will be if elected?
Well, as I mentioned, my strengths are primarily in the leadership department. I've been in charge of people and programs over the course of my military career, and I think that bodes very well for me in an assembly setting.
Okay. What is at the top of your priority list? Where will you focus your energy if elected?
Well, I think the assembly needs balance right now, and someone with reasoned and balanced approach to getting things done. And I feel that I bring a sense of commitment and dedication to the work, and I would listen to virtually all of the parties involved in making decisions and come to reasonable and balanced decisions that are best for the community.
Okay, how much money have you raised, and who are your primary contributors?
Well, my contributors come from all walks of life throughout Anchorage. I have over 100 contributors, and many of whom are concerned about the same things I am concerned about. A better community, a better place to live, and a better place to work. In regards to the total funds I've raised, that's a number that changes every day, and I would have to really check back with you and give you that information later.
How about it's in the range of or more than?
Okay. Well, in that case, more than 30, less than 40.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
How would you distinguish yourself from your two opponents in this race?
Well, my two opponents have declared themselves to be conservatives, and sometimes we don't like labels, but I'm consider myself a moderate, someone who will look at things in a balanced way. And in regards to their positions, for example, on AO 37, we diverge on that topic.
Okay, why don't we continue with that? It's my next question on the list in any
Okay.
case. And tell us about the Mayor Sullivan's revision of the labor law, which has dominated the Assembly debate for a year or more.
Yeah, it has. It's just coming up on a year, and it's been, I consider the labor ordinance, been very, very divisive and very controversial, and has made a lot of people upset in this town. The legal bills to the city have been tens and tens of thousands of dollars, excuse me, and really I don't feel that it was necessary. The labor ordinance and labor relations has worked well in this community for decades, and I didn't see a need to change it. But most importantly, when it was introduced and debated, I thought that the workers in this town were not respected. As a matter of fact, when public testimony was underway and people were still waiting in line to testify, what happened was that public testimony was cut off. And that's really a disrespecting way to approach any issue in this town. To cut off testimony was the wrong thing to do. And
how do you feel about moving the vote on the referendum, the actual vote from next month to November, the fall?
Well, when the Assembly took that vote, I was disappointed, because here in Anchorage we have a lot of standalone issues that are only related to what's happening here in Anchorage. And so when you throw Anchorage issues into state races and national races, well, that kind of muddies up the water. I think the voters of this town are smart enough to look at the issues independent of statewide races and national races.
Okay. What about moving the the municipal elections, not just the vote on the labor law, to the fall?
I see.
Also, that's another decision we've made.
Well, trying to extend the terms of assembly members, I thought was kind of outrageous, actually. The ethics board outright rejected that proposal, and I was not at all supportive of moving those elections.
Okay. Alcohol continues to be involved in a disproportionate percentage of crime and disorder in the Anchorage area. What can be done to reduce the damage alcohol does to our community?
Wow, that's a great question. I think it really starts in the home. We learn certain behaviors in the home, and societal ills are sometimes replicated in families, and so that's a really tough question to answer. I'm sorry. I would, in order to come up with comprehensive solutions, it's going to involve all parties, and I would listen to the experts, because certainly the Assembly does need experts to consult with on these sort of things, but it continues to be a problem, and I know over the course of time, I've seen increased public inebriation, and it's saddening to see, but I think we do need to address it, and I know there's been progress made in that regard.
Okay, the number of street people fluctuates, but the homeless are a permanent part of our community. That's pretty clear. How can we reduce the number and the friction between homeless street people and the rest of the community? Well,
I worked in health and social services throughout my career in the public sector, and it does take resources. It takes resources from and partnerships, both from the public sector and private sector, to address these issues. And it takes a community that cares about their fellow human beings. When we drive around town and we see folks who are destitute and looking for assistance and holding signs, it's difficult to see that, and our hearts go out to those people. And so collectively, as a community, I think we need to get serious about it and address the issue head on.
Another a number of those people, homeless people, it's a choice that they make, maybe not a very good choice or very well reasoned out. Others, it's quite clear that they're mentally ill. What do we do about people who are obviously mentally ill among us?
Well, there are caseworkers in the homeless shelters, and sometimes these folks don't even want to enter into the homeless shelter situation. But once again, I think the answer is the same. The people in the mental health profession who work with these populations are the best source of information and information to come up with solutions to the issue. I'm not a mental health clinician, but the experts need to be consulted on this, and maybe perhaps, I know we've had, the mayor's had some groups get together and talk about it, but we're still waiting for some real implementation and to get some resources to deal with the issue.
Thank you. There have been news stories about the size of about the reduction in size of the police force. Do we have an adequate number of police officers here in Anchorage to meet our needs and protect the community adequately?
No, we don't. Absolutely not. Anchorage, if you rate Anchorage on the number of police officers per thousand, our community ranks poorly. Personally, I had to wait over 2 hours for an officer to arrive at a fender bender, and the other person in the accident insisted that we wait for the police officer. And so it got to me thinking that, this is I expect really faster service, and it just wasn't available. So no, Anchorage does need more police officers.
Okay. The expansion and rebuild of the Port of Anchorage seems to be an endless source of tribulation. There are charges of money wasted, delays, many fingers have been pointed. This has now gone on for a period of years. Very messy situation. How do we get out of it?
Wow. Well, I know the Assembly just assigned a new project manager for the work. When I look, I think Anchorage, people live in Anchorage, they look at that project and they just got to shake their head as to what went wrong. There are legal battles underway to assign responsibility, and perhaps there'll be some some settlements eventually. But it seems to me right now that the project has been is on track to be remanaged, and so I think it's on track to be fixed, hopefully.
Let's talk about the proposed Knik Arm crossing. A lot of money's been appropriated, a lot of money has been spent, a lot of studies have been completed,
right.
Some are still on the way. Yet, it hasn't been built yet, and we're still waiting. Is there going to be a crossing, a Knik Arm crossing, and are you for it or against it?
Well, I don't think it's time for a Knik Arm crossing. The prospect of dividing our community over Government Hill and ruining that neighborhood, and then essentially it would take away a tax base for Anchorage. And I know there's a lot of money to be made in bridge building, a lot of money to be made in tolls. The whole notion of the financing package with the state being on the hook is a little risky, if you want my opinion. So perhaps I don't think we're ready for a bridge at this time. Maybe not in my lifetime. Certainly hope not. So that's a project that's has come under a lot of scrutiny, and with limited state resources, I don't think the state is ready to take on that kind of liability.
From your perspective, what is Anchorage's #1 transportation priority?
Wow. Well, our town has developed over the course of time, and we've had a little bit of sprawl going on. In other states, their planning provides for more dense housing in some of the core areas. So I would like to see an Anchorage that develops around the prospect of having more people in the downtown area, for example, or in Midtown, where they can enjoy the amenities of local businesses and provide for a vibrant, energized community.
We just have a couple minutes left. What do you like best about Anchorage?
Wow. Well, I really like Anchorage. I love Anchorage, I should say. I went to school here, was married here, purchased our first home here, and I really love this community. And going door to door, I hear from a lot of folks, and they like it. They love it too, just as much as I do. And so I love the skiing, love the hiking. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to live, and a great place to work as well, and I want to keep it that way.
You mentioned going door to door. How many doors do you figure you've
Oh, goodness.
banged on?
I hate to say it, but
It's okay, you can brag.
well, perhaps, let's see. I haven't tallied it up, but it is in excess of 1,000 doors. I know that I've heard my opponents say that they've knocked on more, but I'm a latecomer to the race. But nevertheless, I feel very energetic about the campaign and have really, really enjoyed it. I feel privileged to have participated in the democratic process.
Anchorage municipal elections are nominally nonpartisan, but are they really nonpartisan?
That's an excellent question. I've been an undeclared voter my whole life. My two opponents, or at least one of them, I know they are. You can look at someone's record in terms of what they're affiliated, what party they're affiliated with, and my opponents are registered in the Democrat, in the Republican column. I've been, supportive of Republican principles at times, and have even voted for a time or two for Republicans. And I have nothing against that. But I myself, I'm an independent thinker and not affiliated with any one party. I like to think that I can make a good judgment on the issues, not necessarily say that I'm going to vote for one party or the
30
other.
seconds. Are we doing enough for our libraries? 30 seconds.
No, absolutely not. I think I was in those libraries, the Lusac Library, when it was first built. Fabulous building, beautiful building, and now it's actually crumbling. And it's very unfortunate to see, and I'd like to see adequate funding and to support the goals of the Friends of the Library.
Thank you, Mr. Doherty.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Doherty, again.